Julianna, the Venezuelan Vixen Pena, I love that nickname by the way, is the English color commentator for Combate Global MMA and also a UFC fighter who challenges Amanda Nunes for the UFC Bantamweight title in August. Huge fight. Thank you, Julianna. Tell us about Combate Global MMA.
Combate Global MMA is a rising sport in MMA. It is taking over the world as far as Latino America is concerned, and it's an amazing promotion. I've been with them since 2016, and it's an honor to be their English commentator.
How about some of the company's top fighters?
Ooh, some of the company's top fighters, in my opinion, we got Super Melly Martinez, her brother, Mr. Martinez, his first name escapes me right now, David Martinez. We got Andy Golden Boy Perez, one of my favorites. We also have David Duran, the farmer of destruction. And my favorite, Caro Gallero, she is fighting out of my gym, VFS. She's be fighting in the next 2 weeks. And a new up-and-comer, Marcos Lopez. He's also, going to be a great rising star in the company as well.
What's it been like doing commentary? Such a different acumen because you're a fighter, you're a top fighter. Now you're actually talking about the fights.
You know, it's really hard to get my bias out of the fighting and the commentating. Like, I see what I see, and it's really hard for me to separate, like, one person winning versus losing and then saying something great about the person that's it's a learning curve. I'm still trying to take that bias out of the commentary, so that's definitely the hardest part, but it's very fun and it's something that I enjoy doing. I could talk to a rock all day, so talking about something that I'm passionate about such as MMA is a gift, it's an honor, and it's something that I truly enjoy. I would do it all day long if I could.
What made you become an MMA fan?
Becoming an MMA fan kind of just fell into my lap. I had never seen a UFC fight before. I had never seen any sort of fighting before. I remember when I was washing the dishes at my mom's house and watching, cage fighting, I would literally flip the channel immediately and be like, well, I don't even know what this is. I didn't even put a thought to it. I joined a women's cardio kickboxing class, and they asked me to stay afterwards for the MMA classes, and it wasn't until then that I finally started putting two and two together, like, oh, this is what I've been, watching on TV, but like flipping through the channels, like that's what this is. And so, being the baby of 4 kids and getting the tail end of a ton of beatings, definitely played into the fact that now I'm a fighter for a living. But I definitely think that watching those fights and engulfing myself in the sport is what helped me become a fan. It was almost like you can't have one without the other. And so, definitely a fan of MMA as well as being a fighter.
You mentioned family. How important is family to you?
Family is the most important thing. Todo para la familia. Everything is for the family, and without your family, you're literally nothing. So family is first. Family comes, is the most important, and I love my family. Very grateful for them.
What is it like on fight day with family and everyone getting excited, amped, and nervous?
That's a totally different subject, okay? So I love my family, okay? And family is the most important thing, but family on fight day, get out of here. I can't. I remember I fought in Texas, and my family was like, we came down here all the way from Washington to watch you fight, and you won't go shopping with us, and what's wrong with you? You're in such a bad mood, and we took our time to be here to support you. And I'm literally like, I don't think you guys understand the situation here. I don't think you understand the severity of the situation. I'm about to go get in a fist fight in front of the entire world, and you guys want me to go shopping right now. This isn't the time or the place, So I definitely think that, I love my family to death, but they know now during fight week that the stakes are so high and the pressure is on that shopping's the last thing on my mind. So they definitely know to keep their distance now during fight week. They're like, we'll talk to her afterwards.
And that's good because finding Amanda, you don't want to think about shopping at all with that going on.
No. Shopping is definitely not what's on my mind when I'm about to go for the biggest fight of my life. Not to mention I've been working my entire life for this moment. So it's like we can go shopping after the fight. We can go shopping, weeks before the fight. But during fight week, if my family wants to go shopping, they're going to have to do that on their own time because that's definitely not where my head is at.
How have you learned as far as a color commentator? How's the growth process been? We've been learning from, you work with Max. Max is awesome. Tell us a little bit about working with Max, and then also, I don't know, do you watch your fight, the commentary afterwards, and look at that as if you were a fighter watching a fight afterwards?
Well, that's why I was saying before that I really need to cut my bias out of the commentary. You know what I mean? It's like you can definitely see in the, prior commentaries that I'm, gunning for one person as opposed to having a neutral opinion on both fighters. So definitely growing in that process. And then of course working with Max, he's such a pro, and he's definitely always leading the way and kind of showing me the ropes as far as, how to be a little bit more, tactful on camera. And so definitely with his guidance, and kind of big brothering me along the way has definitely helped me become a better commentator. Absolutely.
Max has a little bit of WWE, sports entertainment, pro wrestling background. I'm a huge fan of pro wrestling. I do a lot of pro wrestling interviews too. But I'm just curious because Sexy Dolce Garcia, very tough fighter, also has a lucha libre, a pro wrestling background. Brock Lesnar, you can go down the list, Ronda Rousey. There have been some really good ones that have crossed over. What are your thoughts about pro wrestling, MMA, the crossover, and has pro wrestling ever been something that you might be interested in trying?
I'm in the entertainment business, and it's all the entertainment business. At the end of the day, we're entertainers, and we're there to put on a show for the fans. So I can see the correlation. Actually, when I won the Ultimate Fighter, the girl that was the #1 seed that was supposed to, pick me off in
Shayna
the first,
Baszler?
she was. I could choose to end this fight whenever I want to, and she can't even hold a candlestick to all the people that I fought. Some of the things that she said, and I ended up choking her out. Shayna has been able to cross over into the WWE world, and she's made quite a name for herself. She's a champion in WW Next or something like that. And
NXT, you're right. I know WNXT,
yes.
And also WWE.
She's crossing over. Yeah, and
both.
she's made quite the name for herself. I'm actually very proud of her, and I think that it's awesome that she was able to turn a misfortune into a fortune, and she was, kind of like. That's her calling, because she had this persona on The Ultimate Fighter as like this crazy weirdo, you know what I mean? It's like she believes her own hype, and she's literally like, I literally looked at her like, this girl's kind of weird, you know what I mean? But in WWE, it translates. It's literally like, this girl's a star, you know what I mean? And she has that kind of star power with the whole, Ace of Spades magic thing going on, and it totally makes sense for the WWE world. So, definitely it's something that, you can learn and you can do, and it's something that, if the doors were open and they wanted me to do that, I definitely would consider it, absolutely. But right now, my goal is to be fighting in the Jaula, in the Octagon, and that's where my focus is.
Okay, Focus MMA, Combate Global, calling the action, UFC fighting for the championships. But I'm curious too, because you did mention Shayna, and I was going to mention her. I'm glad you brought her up. What was it like winning that Ultimate Fighter, the first woman to win that competition, and also with Shayna and going against her, because she was on Team Rousey. It was Team Rousey against Team Tate. And Ronda had all her MMA pro wrestling because Jessamine Duke was on there on her team. Shayna was on their team. Marina was one of her coaches. It was like the crossover appeal. And then on the other side, you come in and just boom, make a name for yourself by beating Shayna. Was that like the biggest accomplishment at that time for you?
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of people have always slept on me in my career and have always, kind of counted me out all the time through everything, throughout my entire life, actually. That's kind of the way that, my life has kind of been. I've definitely always been the dark horse, and winning the Ultimate Fighter was definitely kind of the feather in my cap to know that, I can compete with the best in the world and that I am one of the best in the world. And it just gave me that extra added confidence that literally any girl that walks at 135 pounds that wants to get in a fist fight with you, bring it on, you can do it.
How did everyone treat you before that fight, and then how were you treated after that fight?
They were kind of nice to me before the fight, and then after the fight they hated me. It was literally like there was absolutely no give. It was absolutely like, okay, now she's a target, now we're trying to take this girl out, and it went from kind of talking to me to like utter silence.
How do you feel about the upcoming fight in August against Amanda Nunes for the UFC Bantamweight title?
I feel great about it. I feel very thankful for that. This is finally the time that it's finally coming to fruition. Something that I've been working towards my entire career is finally knocking on my doorstep, and it's a very humbling and grateful experience, and I'm just trying to make the most out of it and just put my nose to the grindstone and do whatever I can to get my hand raised.
And also just Amanda and the fighter she is, and being able to, you're fighting the best in the world right now.
Yep.
So from that standpoint, mentally, how do you prepare for that?
you prepare for it just like you would any other fight. If you think about it, you know, you can't go into every fight and putting so much pressure on every single fight. If you get a belt at the end of the night, that's cute, but at the end of the day, this is about pride. This is about, you know, being the best fighter that I can be, and may the best woman win. And I'm going in there to do everything that I can to get my hand raised, and it's not going to be this gigantic blowout fight that everyone is trying to make it seem like. They want to sleep on me. They want to act like I'm not anything, and that's fine. They can stick to their opinion, but at the end of the day, I know who I am as a fighter. I know what I've had to endure in order to get to this moment. I've been battle tested through and through, and I think that the times that I have, you know, shown any sort of weakness has been when I'm literally trying my hardest to fight these girls, and they're kind of, you know, not in a sense fighting back. They're kind of letting me, you know, beat my own self, and I think that those are mistakes that I have fixed, and I'm just truly honored and looking forward to getting in there and showing my skill set and showing why I believe that I'm the best fighter.
And it's interesting too, because the best of the best, the top fighters, Ronda went through it, Holly Holm beat her. There's always a situation where the heavy favorite, something may happen. Mike Tyson back in the day, the boxer, lost to Buster Douglas. You just never know going into a fight, even though people might say, oh, that one will win, that one will win, she's always going to win, or he's always going to win. There's always that mindset, though, that you never know until they fight.
Yeah, I definitely think that, you know, there's predictions. You can predict everything. You can predict, you know, the sky's going to be pink tomorrow, but at the end of the day, you're not going to know until you make it to that point. And when it's all said and done, then you'll be able to say, oh, this, that, and look like Nostradamus. But at the end of the day, I'm not guaranteeing anything other than she is not going to be in some fight where it's going to go a minute and it's going to be, you know, this gigantic blowout. Absolutely not. It's going to be a very long night for both of us, and I'm expecting a long, tough, grueling fight, and that's what I'm preparing for. I'm preparing for war.
Combate Global MMA, I mentioned sexy Dulce Garcia before. I wonder, what are your thoughts of her? Because she's a new fighter coming over from pro wrestling. What have you thought about her so far?
She came to train with us for a few weeks before her last fight, and she was an absolute sweetheart. She works extremely hard. She's got the heart of a champion, and I definitely think that her crossing over from WWE is a great thing. I definitely think
that's okay, not WWE, because someone will get this right. That's right, but she was in AAA, which is a lucha libre in Mexico.
Excuse me.
But she's traveled all around wrestling too.
Her wrestling translating into MMA has definitely been something that is exciting. She brings a different look, and I definitely think that if she wants to pursue MMA and continue with her career, she has that ability to do that. And if she wants to stay with pro wrestling, she can definitely do that as well.
What are your thoughts of training? Obviously, you're in training now, but do you like the training aspect, and do you think maybe someday down the road you'd like to train others?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it was offered to me to coach The Ultimate Fighter this last season, and I, of course, accepted. Amanda declined, and so that's definitely something that I've always wanted to do. I've always wanted to be a coach and to be back on The Ultimate Fighter and kind of, you know, stick to that roots of helping the next generation up and coming. But it wasn't in the cards for me this season. Maybe later on down the road they'll offer it to me a second time and we can actually get it done, because that's definitely something that I've always wanted to do.
You're a mom now. What would you say to your child when and if they come up and say, hey, I want to be an MMA fighter?
Absolutely not. Yeah, the answer is no. You know, my parents, parents in general, they always want to push you in the right direction. They always want what's best for you, and they want you to, you know, do the best that you can. My parents obviously wanted me to go to school. They wanted me to get my degree. And me, you know, turning around and being like, nah, I want to get punched in the face for a living, was not what they expected for their baby daughter, you know, and they were definitely not on board with it. But once they saw how passionate I was about it, once they saw that I could actually make a legitimate career out of it, I definitely think that they supported me 110%. At the end of the day, I think that if my daughter shows an extreme passion and dedication to MMA like I did, there's no way that I would deny her and say you absolutely cannot do that. At the end of the day, I want my daughter to be happy, and whatever makes her happiest is what's going to make me happiest. So if she shows that dedication, if she shows that heart and passion, then I'll say, yeah, go for it. But do I want her to go down this road? Absolutely not. I have literally been so battle tested that I probably broke every single thing that you could think of and some. And that's definitely not what I would want for my child.
Has being a mom changed you at all
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. You know, whereas I used to be able to be like more selfish in the sport, now I'm like having to like split my time between like literally sparring and being like, get over here. Like I'm literally sparring and I'm like, I can't see you, get back over here. You know, so it's really quite the challenge to be able to, you know, be a mom and be a fighter at the same time, especially lugging my child around to every single practice that I go to. But, you know, she's really great. She's been literally in the gyms since she was born, basically. You know, I had a cesarean section and I wasn't able to train for, you know, 2 or 3 months. But after that 2 or 3 months period, from the day she was born up until now, she's been getting lugged around from gym to gym to gym. So she's family. They look at her as their, you know, their granddaughter, their niece. Everybody in the gym takes part in making sure that she's okay and that she's safe and doing whatever they need to help me out. And so I'm very grateful for the team that I have around me to be able to help me, you know, rear my child. They say it takes a village, and they're not lying.
Are we at the stage of her life where you're watching Peppa Pig a lot?
I feel actually pretty guilty of the fact that like I go and do my training session and then I just hand her an iPad and be like, you know, she might be watching Peppa Pig, she might be watching something else, I don't know. I feel actually...
Maybe your fights, maybe
yeah,
your past
yeah,
fights.
no, she knows mommy's a fighter, and I definitely think that PJ Masks is a big one that I'm watching all the time with her. I'm definitely a lot more in tune with, you know, the Peppa Pigs and the Moanas and the, you know, the Frozens and stuff, things where I didn't even like think about before. Is definitely like I'm literally singing along karaoke to all my practices to Frozen and, you know, all sorts of Disney movies, and I was like, this isn't what I thought, but I'm actually very grateful and happy because I always knew at the end of the day that I wanted to be a mom, and so it's a joy to be able to show her what hard work and dedication can bring you, and to be that role model for her in her life, to know that, you know, she can do anything that she sets her mind to.
Singing? Is singing something else? Is this another career opportunity for you now?
I'm a mean karaoke singer. I love to sing, and it's definitely something that, you know, when I was a kid, that's what I dreamt of being, but let's be honest, I don't have a voice, and anytime I sing, somebody's like, stick to your day job, chick. So it's definitely, you know, I like to do it for fun, but it's not something that I take seriously.
And Combate Global, this is really exciting news because now Combate Global in English, it's been on DAZN, but now it's CBS Sports Network and Paramount Plus, and it's going to be on CBS Sports Network. This will be after it is, but I know June 25th it'll be on that first fight, and then Paramount Plus July 9th through the rest of the season, 2021 December, and then 30 live events annually, 2022 and 2023. And you and Max are the English commentators. What were your thoughts when you got the information that this was all going down?
I was waiting for it. I know that Campbell's got my back and that he's always going to pull, you know, his tricks out of the hat, and this one was a gigantic one. CBS Sports, Paramount Plus, it's a huge deal. Great opportunity for us, and I'm just so happy that there's somewhere that the English language can go. We are very excited to be working with CBS Sports and Paramount Plus, and you know, 30 shows. It's incredible. We're back on. We're back. You know, COVID delayed us for a bit, but we're back. We're coming on strong, and we're coming on some major networks that a lot of people are familiar with. So it's a joy. It's an awesome opportunity.
You're from Washington State.
Yep.
We're all the way on the other side here in Miami and South Florida, Florida, and Combate Global's been doing their shows at Univision Studios live in Miami. What's it like from a Washington girl to come down here to South Florida to Miami?
Well, I actually moved to Chicago about 4 years ago, so the flight's not quite as devastating, but it's great. I always take the last flight out, and I'm on the first flight back just to make sure that I have enough time to get back to Chicago to get my training schedule on. So I'm really not missing too much training, especially since it's being on the weekend, and it's great. I love Miami. I love the vibe here. I feel like I'm in a different world every time I come to Miami. It's amazing to be able to, you know, get a little taste of a different cultural world as opposed to where I'm from in Washington or even Chicago.
And it's interesting because this is down here has become such a hotbed of MMA training. There are MMA Masters, Miami, there's American Top Team, there's Sanford MMA. There's a lot of training of fighters, I mean, all over, but South Florida especially. Any thoughts to you as to why South Florida has maybe become this hotbed of training?
I can tell you that Dan Lambert flew me down here when I won the Ultimate Fighter, and I was like in paradise, literally. I was staying on the beach, I was training with, you know, the best people in the world, and I was getting, you know, some great attention, and I think that, you know, it's a nice atmosphere to be able to train at. You know, whereas Chicago, it's the windy city and it's absolutely freezing half the year. Training in Miami is like a dream come true. It's like paradise every day. So maybe that might be some of the reasons why. Also, I think that because it's, you know, so down south and close to a lot of Latin American countries, a lot of these Latin American fighters find it easier to connect to this hub in Florida as opposed to anywhere else, especially because, you know, if you are, you know, speaking English here in Florida, kind of like you're the minority, you know what I mean? It's like American people have to learn how to speak Spanish and be bilingual in order to get browned here, because it's such a cultural thing. It's such a Latin American based culture in Florida. And so I definitely think that, you know, these fighters coming from Latin American countries to Florida, it's a lot easier for them. They don't have to go somewhere where they have to learn English. They can just, you know, get by with their own native tongue, and that might be a reason why they gravitate towards, you know, the beach and Florida and, you know, living in paradise, because it just reminds them of, you know, where they come from, and it's easier.
The culture, the language.
The culture, the
and
language,
the environment.
The environment.
Yeah. And lastly, I was just so interested in this. Do you have any broadcasting background?